Good morning. I want to thank you for coming. Today, the Fraternal Order of Police of Ohio and the Ohio Association of Professional Firefighters have come together once again to talk about the state of local government funding in Ohio. If you remember, March 20th of last year, Mark Sanders and I stood before you and made a plea to state leaders to restore local government funding. Since 1935, the state of Ohio has partnered with local government. They formed a covenant when the state sales tax was implemented, as I said, in 1935. 40% of state sales tax revenue was, at that time, supposed to flow back to local government. The original purpose of that revenue share was to provide services at the local level. But you know, in the 2011 to 2013 budget, the state was facing a massive shortfall to maintain their balanced budget. And one of the ways that they balanced their budget was removing $1 billion from local government. And while that caused pain, and we certainly didn't enjoy a $1 billion cut to local government, we understood because the money was needed to balance the state budget. So here comes the second budget. This budget provides $200 million less in local government funding than the last budget. Things didn't get better, they've gotten worse. When you add in the loss of the estate tax on top of the cuts to local government funds, it's even worse than it was before. Now, you can argue about the merits of the estate tax, but what you cannot argue is that our employers have become dependent upon it to provide local services. So on top of the $1 billion cut from local government funds, we have an additional $250 million cut from the estate tax. And I don't know if you know this or not, but 80% of estate tax money went to local government. So as I said, here we are with the new budget. And the state is claiming to have a $2 billion surplus. And the only ones now sharing the pain are local governments. The Ohio Association of Professional Firefighters and the Fraternal Order of Police of Ohio came together to do some research to determine what kinds of effect this had on local government. What we found were tax increases or loss of services. The cuts to local government fund forced local governments to choose between seeking a tax increase or reducing the services they provide to their citizens. What we also found out was in the 127th General Assembly, House Bill 119 was passed that said 3.68% of the state's general revenue fund would be shared with local governments. So that when the fund went down, money to local governments went down. But when the general fund went up, money to local governments went up. Carrying on the tradition that started in 1935 of a stable revenue source for local governments. John Kasich and his allies broke that covenant by removing the ebb and flow of money back to local governments